It's still the 12 days of Christmas, and it is day 5, and on the 5th day of Bookmas, my true love gave to me 5 hours of crying. And these obviously are books that broke your heart, books that made you cry. It could be books that you happy cried in, like that's possible. Not every author is out to kill your favorite characters, right? Please, let one live. But yeah, so these are the books that I've actually cried in. I don't actually cry, like I'm not so invested in a book that I actually outright cry, but these are books that really made me really sad. There was a couple that I did cry in. And the first book is Codename Verity by Elizabeth Wine, which I'm probably mispronouncing because I'm terrible at authors' names, let's face it. And I know I've already mentioned this in one of my 12 Days of Bookmas book videos, but this one destroyed me. I cried in this one. This one I did outright, openly cry in. It was so heart-wrenching, so painful, so sad, because it is set in such a realistic time setting that it was a very good possibility of this event realistically happening, that it just had such an impact on me. So it was so sad. This was definitely a cry-worthy book. My next book is also a World War II era book, and that was The Book Thief by Marcus Zusak. I cried more in the movie adaptation because stuff is more visual to me, and I read the book after I'd seen the movie, but this would be another heartbreaking cry because, oh my goodness, the ending. Just when you think it is going to be happy, it's not. Why? Like, just when you think everything is starting to turn around, it was very sad, it was very heartbreaking, and again, set in a very realistic time setting where something could have very possibly have happened that happened. So, yes, very, very sad. Another run of my cry-worthy books was actually somewhat of a surprise, and that was Right Where I Belong by Kristen McGee. This is about a young girl whose father is kind of a serial marrier. He marries women, divorces women, marries women, divorces women. She's like on stepmother number 5, and her mother is a workaholic that doesn't have any time for her. So she's stuck with her father, who is a serial divorcer. The main girl ended up leaving Madrid, Spain, and moving to Tampa, Florida with her mom, or her stepmom, to kind of give her that support. She actually really liked the stepmom, and this was the stepmom that introduced her to God and to Jesus and kind of gave her that faith and helped her through that and was teaching her all of this. So she had a really strong connection to this particular stepmother, and she wanted to stay with her and help her through it. And it was watching Natalia herself, that's the main character, it was watching Natalia kind of go through that growth and that spiritual growth and that discovering where her faith and where she stands in her faith and how to verbalize her faith, and kind of watching her grow through that, as well as watching her stepmother go through that emotional roller coaster, kind of hit close to home for me in a lot of ways, and I did end up crying while I was reading this book. It was just, it spoke to me through a lot of events in my life that had actually happened to me, and what I liked about Krista's writing is that they're so real, it's so realistic, like it's so beautifully written, and it's a great book and it's a great form of entertainment. It's so down to earth and it's so grounded in the fact that this is realistic, this could happen, this is realistic fiction, and that's what hit home to me. So I did end up crying in this one. My 4th cry book is also by Kristen McGee, and that was Revolutionary, which is the last book in the Anomaly trilogy, and I'm not going to talk more about it because it is the 3rd book in a trilogy, which I've talked about a lot, and you need to go and read this trilogy. It was amazing. I loved it, and the ending and stuff that happens in Revolutionary is just, yeah, I cried. It was very sad. It still ends well, but it was still very... I didn't see it coming. I think that's what happened, is that I didn't actually expect that to happen or expect it to come, and that's what caught me off guard, and that's what I was upset about. So I don't think I actually physically cried, but it was heartbreaking. And the 5th book of this 5 hours of crying is The Hunger Games by Suzanne Collins. Specifically, when Rue dies, I cried. It was very sad in the movie and in the book. But the part that actually makes me cry the most, that actually makes me cry, is when Katniss volunteers for Prim. I can't get over it. I can't get over watching it in the movies, in reading the books. I just can't. And I just saw Mockingjay Part 2 and it was heartbreaking. But when Katniss volunteers for Prim, that's what gets me every time, because it was brilliantly done. And this was a brilliant thing for having Katniss volunteer for Prim, like, off the get-go in this book, because you instantly connected with these characters. You felt what they were feeling. You wanted them to do well. You wanted stuff to go well for them because your heart broke for them right from the get-go, and you're instantly invested in these characters. And that's what I liked about Suzanne Collins' writing, is that you were so invested right off the bat that you couldn't help but keep going. So those are all my Cryworthy books. Thank you guys so much for watching, and as always, Merry Bookmas!